everyday life is your best mentor. What is a mentor, Philip?
What
And
actually is a mentor?
yeah, what actually is a mentor, and do we need one?
Well, personally, when I'm thinking about a mentor, well, mentor, of course, is somewhat of a teacher. But when
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the best mentor, for me, it's a very old, wise guy, white beard, but a very long beard, just
Sorry.
like in the movies. For every
Like a
single,
magician or something.
not a magician,
But
actually,
you're
just someone who has every answer for everything. It's like
makes sense.
just for myself. And the next question was, do we actually need a mentor?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I do think, especially when we see those movies where like the main character has his mentor who is just there for him, giving him the
Guiding.
advice, guiding him what he
Yeah.
has to do, what he should do,
Or
and so
shouldn't.
on, and shouldn't, of
Yeah.
course. Oftentimes, I feel like people wish they had a mentor
Hmm.
as wise as this guy in the movies. And why is that? Well, because we struggle. There is a lot of things in life that we struggle
Oh
with.
boy,
Yeah.
yeah.
And to just think about it, it's probably the easiest way if we just have someone who is telling us what to do exactly and
Hmm.
why we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can achieve every dream we want to have. The dream version of us, for example, getting rich, achieving your goals, whatever they are, being, I don't know, whatever your goal is. And your mentor just shows you the way. So to come back to your question, do we need a mentor? I say no. uh,
Why so? I think you're going to cause a lot of trouble with this idea of yours. When, because in today's world, the mentors are becoming more popular each and every day, or the
mm,
so-called mentors, let's say.
or gurus or masters. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, I'm gonna let you explain it further.
So why do I think we don't need a mentor? Let's, for example, take one practical example.
Mhm.
Let's say you smoke.
I don't, but yeah.
I know.
Sorry. Yeah, you can continue.
Example, okay? You smoke.
Yeah, I
Smoke a lot.
smoke.
Yeah, you smoke a lot.
I overdo it.
Okay. And now imagining you have this perfect mentor. And what do you think is he going to say? Well, probably he's going to say stop smoking.
Don't smoke.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's going to say very efficient, let's say. He has very good arguments. He
Mm,
explains to you in every way
it's unhealthy and so
and
on.
so on
Yeah.
and so on. Like he lists all pros and cons
Hmm.
and so on. He goes really deep into the subject, yeah,
Hmm.
like a real mentor does. Let me ask you, are you going to stop smoking just because this guy told you?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, because you
Probably yes,
already
but mostly it doesn't happen like that.
probably not because you
Yeah.
already know that. It's nothing new. Even though he's arguing very well, there is something else that
Mm.
needs to be changed.
Hmm.
It's not the mentor. It's not the mentor that is capable of doing such things.
Hmm.
Well, of course, it's you. You are the only one who can change yourself. But it sounds simple, but you have to be aware.
Mm.
Because I think having or not having a mentor is kind of like an escape thought for most people. I think they use it, or even I have done it, to use it as an excuse to not just do the things you actually want or actually should do. What is the purpose of a good mentor? A good mentor has the purpose to teach you how to grow, to become your highest potential, to become your dream version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best version of yourself.
The best version. Now, try to imagine this best version of yourself.
Hmm.
Really, actually, just visualize it. How do you look? What do you do?
You
How do you
can
speak?
actually also write it down.
Or write it down. Now, if you have visualized it, if you know all the little details, tell me one thing. Does this person, this dream, this hero, need a mentor?
Mostly not.
He does not need a
Mm-hmm.
mentor because he is already self-reliant. He takes his own decisions. He
Mm-hmm.
knows for himself probably the best answer. And if he doesn't know, he
Mm-hmm.
knows how to get to that point. And our goal, of course,
Mm-hmm.
is to eventually be that
Mm-hmm.
hero. That means we don't actually need a mentor to be this hero
Mm-hmm.
because we already have a mentor.
Okay, and who is this mentor?
Our everyday life.
How can my everyday life be my mentor?
Because everyday life, now this sounds maybe at first a bit weird, but everyday life functions a bit as a mirror of your actions,
Or
yeah,
decisions?
or
Yeah.
decisions. To clarify what I mean, I think I always like to think in practical examples. For example, you're driving with a car. You see in your back mirror if someone wants to like pass you by and you
Mm-hmm.
can't out of some reason, I don't know. You're driving too slow. I think we all been in this
Of
situation
course, it
once.
happens
Yeah.
quite often.
Now this person seizes a chance and passes by, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not just passing by.
Is
He's
angry.
he's angry. He's very
Yeah.
angry. Yeah. While he passes by, he shows you the middle finger. Oh my god. Now what happens is you're getting angry yourself. You were like, hey, I'm following the orders, 50 kilometers per hour. There is no reason why he should be so angry or why he
Mm.
should call me an asshole. Now, that's a perfect example of how your everyday life teaches you. This situation created
Mm.
an emotion that's not helping you. It created anger. And I call them all these negative emotions are in general all destructive emotions. Destructive because they are not helping you to grow. They
Mm.
actually do the opposite. They will lead to, well, if not dissolved,
Mm-hmm.
eventually to some mental problems, some sort of self
Yeah.
destruction. So we actually don't want these emotions, but we cannot influence the situation because the situation, it wasn't your fault. This would have happened
In many
however, in
ways.
many
In
ways,
many
yeah.
ways. Yeah.
So what we can change is not the situation itself, but how it react to the situation. And that's how life or
Mm.
your everyday life teaches you. It makes you
Mm.
it makes you aware, yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah.
by creating negative and destructive emotions
Mm-hmm.
that hey, something's wrong. You think in some way or your thoughts create a problem for
Mm-hmm.
you by creating this negative emotion.
Actually, you explained it quite well how our everyday life can be our mentor. But how can people be aware when something like this happens? How can you reach that level of awareness?
Well, that's actually a wonderful question because, of course, you cannot take life as a mentor if you're not aware
Exactly.
that it actually can be your mentor.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware and need to be
Mm-hmm.
conscious in your everyday life that it actually can teach you something. So, how to be conscious? It sounds stupid, but at first, to know that it actually is a mentor or it
Mm-hmm.
actually can be a
Mm-hmm.
mentor. That sounds stupid, but it creates unconsciously a space where you then be able to realize it in your stressful everyday life.
This kind of topic brings me back to our first conversations with each other. Can you remember every time I had kind of, I don't know, maybe some stressful days, or I was struggling with some topic that I couldn't solve myself? And then we talked it through, and you just opened my eyes in a way to see the situation in a different light, and also told me how to learn from it. Like, I can remember exactly this question. What do you think? What is this situation trying to teach you? It reminds me, it's kind of the same logic,
It
let's
is
say. It's kind
absolutely,
of the
yeah.
same logic.
And it's actually quite easy because every time a situation is creating some form of negative emotion, now be it anger,
Sadness.
sorrow, yeah, sadness, hate, all these negative emotions are destructive. And we don't want any destructive emotions. So that means every time a destructive emotion happens, you should analyze why it happened. And every time it happens, you know that everyday life is going to teach you something through situations.
So everyday life can teach us something, but what exactly? What can I learn from it? What can we learn?
That's actually quite easy. The answer is everything. That
Okay.
sounds a bit much, but think about it. Every time a negative emotion is created, you have some sort of problem,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
It's a problem. Now, what is actually a problem? Problem is some sort of conflict. So you move in one direction, and let's say, simplify it, life moves in another direction. Because you cross directions,
Yeah.
you create some sort of conflict. That means you have to adjust your direction, the way you move through life. So you have to adjust the way you think, the way you act accordingly. Imagine you are in a current and the current obviously goes in one direction, but it doesn't mean you have to follow this exact line. In this current, you can maneuver the way you want to. But the moment you turn against the current, it's where problems occur.
But does everything in our lives have a meaning? Isn't that a bit too much, too overwhelming to think that way? To have all the time this kind of awareness activated that you have to look through every situation, analyze it in order to learn from it in a way. Isn't it overwhelming?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Well, I'm thinking of a quote. It goes, "Life only makes sense in reverse."
Okay, that's nice.
Now think about it. At this point, if you think back, I would do it for me right now. At the moment I'm in, if I'm going to think back, like every hardship I faced, every bad situation,
Battle.
every battle actually made me who I am today and made me stronger, but only if I let it. Every situation has as much meaning as you grant it, as you choose it to have. In that sense, everything in some sort has a meaning as long as you allow it.
But what can I do to make it easier? How to guide myself through it?
By starting to work on yourself. Just at some point, just start. We have talked about a lot of aspects of learning for yourself, and that's a lot to take in. But just start and start with the things you feel you're capable of accepting and implementing in your life. And we have talked about this in another episode, but really don't stress yourself. That's so important because every time you put pressure on yourself, you just make it more hard.
Yeah.
So just like chill and take your time, think it through what things you want to implement and how you want to implement them.
But how can I implement it practically?
So it's all about awareness, of course. It's about being cautious in your everyday life. So you understand that you get something taught. So it's about awareness. And how do we train awareness? By training it actually. So it's not that you have it and it's done.
Yeah, you have it or not. If you
It's
don't,
yeah, it's like training a muscle. It's not like you lift one weight and then you are big. It's getting used to it, getting used to self-reflect. And one way I started was by self-reflecting at night. But before I went to sleep, I made myself a list, reviewed my day, wrote down the things I liked, I did well. That's also important. Don't just write down what you did wrong.
Journaling.
Yeah.
Journaling. It's really
Yes, and
helpful.
don't just write things down that you did wrong. It's very important to write the things done,
No, of course not.
you achieve, makes you happy, it makes you go
Yeah,
forward, yeah, it gives you
yeah.
energy. And also write down the things you maybe should have done a little bit differently.
Hmm.
So you have set yourself a time where you're going to reflect on yourself.
It's like a little task
Little task
to.
every day. So you're getting started with self-reflecting.
Mhm.
And over time, just try to implement it in your everyday life and it actually comes naturally.
Then it becomes a habit.
Exactly. It becomes a habit.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking from experience actually, because since I started with it, it's been great. But there is also another way. Maybe for some people, it can be more practical to do it in the morning. But it's not only reflecting about how the day went, because of course it hasn't happened yet, but it is writing down what you want to happen so you can reverse it a bit. You can write down what you want to happen like it already happened, and it gives you such a great energy to start your day. You can simply.
And then you kind of teach yourself to see these opportunities. If you think like, it's going to happen anyway,
Mm.
you kind of teach yourself to see these chances because you
Mhm.
have to be aware to actually see the chance that is
Yeah,
given to you.
because there may be many signs throughout your day, but you're not conscious. If you're
Mm,
not conscious, then you're not able to see them, because they are not going to be in the form that maybe you're expecting them to come.
exactly. Yeah.
We're still mentioning the awareness here. Like, it's all about the
It's
being
actually all
aware.
about being aware. And I love that you said it's going to be a habit. When you start to
Mm,
be aware, to be aware,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it comes with time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
of
actually comes.
course.
And I can only explain it from my experience. I
Mm,
also started with these little steps, just reflecting it
baby
every
steps.
day in the
Yeah.
at night. I experienced to just come to me automatic. It
Yeah.
just goes, okay, wait a second. I experienced something bad.
Yeah.
I experienced something disharmonious,
Yeah.
something that just doesn't feel right. Okay, what did I do wrong? If I'm experiencing some sort of discomfort or some sort of, bad emotion,
Mhm.
it already starts like automatically. I'm not
Yeah.
like actively thinking about,
Yeah.
okay, now I should reflect. It's
Yeah.
just
Now it's on your
automatically
now
like,
it's in
what
your
did I, yeah,
unconscious,
it's in
but
my
yeah.
unconsciousness, and I already started thinking about a solution. What do I have to change? So I started reflecting, and in order to be in a very stable state of mind, mentally and emotionally,
Mm.
I kind of imagine myself like being a leaf in the wind, that like these different types of pressure and wind like
Mm.
throwing you around all the time. Of course you lose energy because
Mm.
you want to go one way, but like the wind is blowing to left, to
Yeah.
right, and so on. By starting to analyze it, these emotions that throw you around start to diminish, getting
Mm.
smaller step by step. And at some point, when, for example, this driver drives by and gives you the middle finger, you just don't care anymore. This emotion does not occur
Yeah.
at all.
You
It just
don't
is not
you
there.
don't give them the power
You don't,
to
yes, you don't give him the power.
distract you from
Yeah.
your everyday life.
It's also a question of dependency. Every time someone else creates bad emotions
Yeah.
in you, you're giving them your, that sounds a bit harsh, but you're giving them your freedom because you are dependent on what they are going to say. If they can manipulate you and if they can create a feeling in you
Mhm.
that you don't want but have, for example, the boss, I don't know what he
Yeah.
does, and you are getting angry,
You're giving your power away.
yeah, you are giving your power away. You are dependent on that
Mm.
person. And that's something we don't want to, because
Yeah.
the other person can create feelings you don't want.
This is such an interesting topic,
Uh,
because we give our power away in so many ways. Almost every day, something happens, we say, yeah, it was her or his fault that I'm feeling this way, that person did me wrong. I don't know, in many different ways or situations. But as you already mentioned, we are letting them. We are allowing our power to simply go away by letting someone else's decision influence us.
You are responsible for everything that happens to you. That's something that's a hard pill to swallow. I
Yeah.
think also for myself. And I think this topic needs an episode for itself because it's such a
It's
big topic.
yeah.
But to go back to awareness, it's like you're programming your unconsciousness on your, or not just your unconsciousness, but also your consciousness. And you're programming it conscious.
Mm-hmm.
You are telling yourself what to feel and what
Mm-hmm.
to think in certain situations. And you're doing so to create thoughts and emotions that are going to help you, that are going to contribute to your growth. And for that, you're going to be conscious. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like a snowball effect. Once it rolls, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it really just gets so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice it, the more you do it.
I can still remember after one of our conversations where you suggested me to erase the word hate from my vocabulary. I can really say that it has changed a lot. We never think or we never imagine how a simple word that we are used to say during the day for stupid stuff or in different cases or scenarios can have such an impact on our everyday lives. This is I don't use it anymore. It gives me such a relief, a sense of peacefulness, a sense of love while I'm talking to myself or to others. Or even when I describe a situation that it wasn't really pleasant, it just decreases the impact that it has for me or in my life, let's say.
Yes, because through your words that you use and you think, you program yourself. Because if
Mhm.
you say, okay, I hate this situation, you
Yeah.
already programmed yourself actually to hate it. And if you really erase this word,
Mhm.
even at the beginning, if it's hard, if you're starting to erase certain words that are just not helping you growing, are just
Yeah.
helping you in your life,
In
yeah,
my evolving, let's say.
by actually changing the words.
Mhm.
For example, if there is a situation very uncomfortable, you don't say, I hate this situation. Instead, you're going to say, well, it's not pleasant. You already changed the way you feel about the situation,
Mhm.
yeah, by just changing the word.
And at the same time, you're giving this situation no permission to make you feel the hate, that large feeling of negativity, let's say.
That's wonderful put.
Yeah.
It's actually about you're giving this word a permission.
Mm,
Yeah, that's actually
good job.
perfect. Yeah.